Apologies for the late start. We had a bit of technical difficulties. We also had an executive session prior to coming out where we discussed a legal matter. I want to welcome everybody to tonight's board meeting, everybody who's joining us in person, and of course, everybody who's joining us online. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We can all do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The mission of the school district of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students as learners and citizens who are high achieving, resilient, and responsible in a changing global community. And with that, I'll ask Ms. Green, could you please do the roll call?
Sure. Mr. Needleman.
Here.
Mr. DeFranco.
Here.
Dr. Etlin.
Here.
Mrs. Green.
Here.
Mrs. Hubley.
Here.
Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Lipinski.
Here.
Dr. Taratusky.
Here.
Mr. Bedard.
Here. All right, thank you. The board at its discretion may videotape all or any portion of the public board meeting, subject to the limitations set forth in policy 006, which deals with meetings, pardon me. Board meetings will be broadcast the Friday afternoon following the board meeting. And with that, we have our MPA report. Ms. Biel-Tafik, I'll turn things over to you. I ask you to come up to the podium and give us a report, please.
Here we go. Yeah. Mic check 1, 2. What is this? Hello, everyone. I'm Angela Biel-Tafik, the parent liaison for the Multicultural Parent Association. As always, it's an honor to be here and to speak on behalf of many parents. Today, with our report, we are doing great things, and MPA, I'd like to share that MPA held our first meeting of the school year on October 27th, and Dr. Lutz shared the district's equity plan with us and was able to answer questions from parents. The Voices of Excellence students shared an update on all of the wonderful initiatives that the students are participating in and shared valuable feedback with administrators. Additionally, nearly $4,000 worth of anti-racist books were purchased for Enfield and Erdenheim school libraries from funds raised after the racist Zoom bombing that we encountered during Black History Month a few years ago. Books for the middle and high schools are being discussed for purchase next. On November 2nd, MPA hosted our fall read aloud event. In celebration of the American Indian Heritage Month, we read When the Shad Bush Blooms, which is a book about the cycle of the seasons here in our area and the traditions of the Lenape people to celebrate each season. We also held our MPA book club meeting on Pushout, the criminalization of Black girls in schools, where Dr. Piper Williams led us in a thoughtful discussion around the book's topic and themes. Forward-looking, we are currently planning events for the Black History Month celebration, a spring read aloud event, and Water Safety Month. We welcome parents to join us for our next in-person MPA meeting on Thursday, December 1st at 6:30, and more information will be forthcoming via each school's respective e-blasts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll have our student report. Is Sarah here? Is she joining us virtually? Sarah?
Hi, sorry. I'm also having some technical issues on my end with my camera, but I can still give my report.
It is a theme tonight. Please go ahead.
All right. Enfield started their Star Student of the Week, and this is an opportunity they use to highlight one student from each homeroom per week on how they are unique and represent our school with Spartan pride. Second grade had visitors from the high school Spanish class come to speak to their class on the 27th and make some Day of the Dead related art projects. November 11th, they celebrated Veterans Day. They invited students to bring in a picture of family members that are veterans to share with their peers in class. They also shared a presentation with veterans that were related to faculty members. The students were surprised to see how many staff members have veterans in their families. Also on November 11th, Mrs. Newman organized an excursion for some of the high school students to come with Mr. Gottesman to read to our second graders. They are celebrating American Education Week by drawing and writing about their favorite parts of the school. At Erdenheim, October 29th was the EHSP annual trunk or treat at Enfield for elementary students and families. On October 31st, they were excited to have our Erdenheim families join them for the annual costume parade, as well as have parent volunteers come and assist with parties. On November 2nd, members of the MPA hosted their fall read aloud, and students and families were invited to create arts and crafts that reflected their own family traditions. November 4th marked the start of Little Buddies, which partners students from the high school with classroom teachers to offer additional support in the class and provide individual support for the students. Monday, November 14th marks the beginning of American Education Week, and Erdenheim is excited to welcome families for scheduled visits to join their children's classes as they engage in learning. Also happening this week, the fifth grade students and staff will be collecting items for their fall food drive in preparation for the upcoming holiday season. The Middle School Service Club organized a bake sale and Pink Out Spirit event on October 28th for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The group was able to raise money to support the Metaviver Foundation, run by cancer survivors, to fund research towards metastatic breast cancer, and the Gilda's Club, a community cancer support resource. Student council elections were held on November 2nd, and American Education Week will be celebrated the 14th through the 18th. A school spirit week will be announced. There will be homeroom spirit competitions, trivia games, staff appreciation activities, community tours, and a culminating family game show hosted after school on November 18th. At the high school, the esports team is ranked #1 in the league and is headed to playoffs. Triumph Music Honor Society inducted 9 students, and the National Honor Society inducted over 60 seniors into the program.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Very comprehensive. For our Finance Committee report, I'll turn things over to Dr. Tarasowski.
All right. Everybody settle in. This was a long meeting. So the Finance Committee met on November 3rd at 8 a.m. Via Zoom. And the board members present were Neil DeFranco, Sarah Hughes, Gretchen Slipinski, myself, Jeff Bedard, and administrators Dr. Mary Jo Yannicone, Kara Green, and Samantha Jenko. Ms. Green presented for the consideration of the committee information about long-term financial planning, ESSER funds usage, and the 2023-2024 budget timeline overview. In terms of our long-term financial planning, we acknowledge the plan for the district and district staff and committee groups to investigate and develop a proposal for facilities improvement at the middle school and transportation center that's in line with the goal of furthering district pride and innovation. We also reviewed the district's current borrowing capacity, the impact of new debt, and factors to consider when using our fund balance. Currently, our borrowing capacity is about $39 million, and our annual debt service currently makes up 12.34% of our overall budget, which is approximately $8 million. Multiple financing allows borrowings to be spread over different years, and a minimum of 2 to 3 months operating expenses should be in our unrestricted fund balance in case there's an unpredictable economic fluctuation or one-time events such as a natural disaster or a budget cut. In terms of ESSER funds, we reviewed the status of the major pandemic funding initiatives. Grants that are 100% utilized include our ESSER Community Cares money, PCCD Health and Safety, PCCD ESSER, ESSER 1, and ESSER 2. Grants that are in progress and the deadline for the use of those is September 2024, include our ARP, the American Rescue Plan ESSER funds, and ARP ESSER 7%. Funds are allocated towards salaries and benefits of our intervention support specialists, cybersecurity, flexible learning, and mental health support. And future anticipated expenditures include student interventions and social and emotional learning support and staff development. And then finally, with regard to the budget timeline, there's several dates that are listed. 11/15/2022 will be our regular board meeting, and that is the board meeting this evening, where we'll recommend approval of the accelerated budget opt-out resolution. This budget opt-out resolution certifies that the board will not be able to increase property taxes by an amount that exceeds the Act 1 index for this year. In February 10th, 2023 is the deadline for departments and building budget administrators to submit their budgets. March 9th, 2023, we'll have a review of the budget with the Finance Committee. On April 20th, a final review of the budget with the Finance Committee will be done. In May 2nd, approval of the final budget, and then June 6th will be approval of the in May, it will be approval of the proposed final budget. And then in June 6th will be approval of the final 2023-2024 budget. The Act 1 index for this year, this upcoming year, 2023-2024 is 4.1%. And this is the maximum that the district can raise property taxes. Historically, the district has kept their tax increases below Act 1 index. The revenue budget is created by the business office and is based on historical trends, current economic climate, and his external data. The personnel budget is created by business and human resources departments and is based on enrollment projections, updated benefit information, and salary data per contracts. The department and building budgets are created by the building administrators, and they are using the zero-based budgeting method with historical data as a guide. There were no members of the public attending this meeting, and the committee discussed all of that information. Any questions at all?
Tusky, very comprehensive indeed.
Yeah, thank you to Ms. Green for preparing all of that information.
Indeed. With that, we'll turn things over to the administrative report from Dr. Yannicone. Dr. Yannicone.
Thank you, Mr. Needleman. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to begin my administrative report with an acknowledgement that earlier today, I decided to send a statement to our high school families regarding an incident that occurred last weekend involving several of our students. It is not the practice of the administration to comment on investigations related to allegations involving students, as they are minors and have a right to privacy and confidentiality. However, earlier today, I was made aware of rumors regarding the incident that created an unfair environment for our students and their families directly impacted by the incident. As a result, I communicated the practices of our administration as they pertain to investigations involving allegations of harassment under Board Policy 103. The district takes such allegations very seriously and strives to support our students and their families to the extent possible. Anyone with questions about the statement released to families this afternoon should direct them to the high school principal, Dr. Rittenhouse, or to me directly by phone or email. Students are encouraged to speak with any administrator, counselor, or trusted adult if you are experiencing bias or harassment in any form. As I shared in my statement today, we strive as a school community to create and affirm a welcoming and inclusive environment for all. And we will continue every day through our curriculum, our social emotional lessons, and our professional training of staff to equip our students, staff, and families with the tools to make our vision for an equitable school community a reality. Thank you to everyone for your support. As Sarah mentioned just a little earlier in her report, this is American Education Week. And during the week of November 13th through the 18th, we celebrate American Education Week, whose purpose is to acknowledge the unique contributions of public education to our society. As the foundation of our democracy, we take great pride in the values and efforts of our public school educators, administrators, and support staff in raising the next generation of American citizens with the support of their families. This week, we are welcoming parents and families of our students into our schools for various performances, visitations, and tours. We are also recognizing the amazing efforts of our staff members who are devoted to their students each day in our schools, on our buses, in the lunchroom, on our stages, and on our playing fields. Thank you to our families for your continued support and engagement and for entrusting your children to us each day. Beginning this Friday and through next Monday and Tuesday, teachers will be meeting with parents across the district to provide updates on their children's progress as part of our parent-teacher conferences for the fall. We anticipate that these conferences will be informative and fruitful for our families and hope that they'll also support our students in continuing to progress this year. And finally, next week, I want to remind the community that next Wednesday through Friday, we will be celebrating the Thanksgiving holiday, and all district offices will be closed through the weekend, beginning on Thursday. While some office staff may be in on Wednesday next week, most of us will be traveling to visit family and friends. We wish everyone a happy holiday and safe traveling to those who will be on the roads or in flight next weekend. We know that's a very busy weekend for travel. And tonight we have our Spartan Spotlight as the final piece of my administrative report. I'm very happy to introduce Kieran Brady, our Springfield Township Middle School Assistant Principal in her first year as Athletic Director. She's here to share some good news with some of our students from the middle school regarding our middle school athletic program. Mrs. Brady, they're all yours.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to be here to celebrate the Springfield Township Middle School, but also our athletics and our students. We had a fantastic sports season. We had many students who were trying new sports for the first time and others who are honing their skills. Mr. Ferraro at the high school can thank me for who I'm sending to the high school because they'll have a lot of good foundational skills here. And every season we ask coaches to nominate students who embody not what it means to be a part of STMS athletics, but what it means to be, have that Spartan pride. So I have two people here today who represent what it means to excel on and off the field as leaders, as good sports. And our two winners are Emerson Rutkowski from our field hockey team and Jonathan Vargas from our soccer team. Congratulations. And I wanted to read a little bit of what their coaches said about them. They get to spend the most time with them besides their teachers. I get to see them play, but they know them even more deeply. So this came from Mrs. Pinelli. Do you know this already? Mrs. Pinelli and Miss Connolly. Emerson came in knowing very little about the sport of field hockey and has ended the season as one of the team's leaders. She has great field presence. Emerson is the center mid, which is the most important position on the field. And she served as the nexus of our offense and defense, sparking the spark who got things started. She consistently came to every practice and put in 100% effort and perseverance in all of our drills. She took the time to set up cages at practice and break down equipment. It cannot be understated how much Emerson's skills have improved and has grown as a leader. So Johnny is the embodiment of Spartan pride. He consistently roots on his teammates, whether it's on the field or on the sidelines. He always lends a helping hand during drills and games without being asked. Johnny always gives his best effort no matter who is watching. He is a dependable and courteous teammate who offers insight to players less experienced than him. He is a well-rounded individual and is extremely kind. So along with Mr. Fuller and Mr. Payne, I want to congratulate both of you. We're very proud and keep doing what you're doing. I have one more quick announcement. We are a member of the MCAA League, which is our middle school league, and every season we all of our coaches vote for an opponent who had the best sportsmanship. And in that goes with how are the coaches, how are the students, how are the spectators. I also calculate this total, but each participate, we kind of add them all up through the season as they progress, and the person with the most votes wins our overall sportsmanship of the year. So for the 2021-2022 season, Springfield Township Middle School won that overall sportsmanship of the year, which is really exciting. I'm going to shout out Mr. Payne because he was the athletic director for a majority of the year last year, so I won't take all of the credit. And we have won this award a lot. We most recently won it in 2016-17 season, the 2018 2018 to 19 season and now the 2020 to 2021. So I'm hoping this continues to be a tradition here because I think that really represents not only our student, our coaches, but also the members of our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brady. I want to also compliment Mrs. Brady, who joined us last spring and has done a wonderful job transitioning into the assistant principal athletic director's role. I want to thank Johnny and Emerson for doing a great job representing us. Johnny, you and I have very similar hair. You wouldn't know it because I flat ironed this thing, but you and I have very similar hair. And Emerson, that's one of my favorite all-time authors. I don't know if you're named after the author, but one of my favorites to teach years ago when I used to teach English. So congratulations to both of you. Thank you again to Mrs. Brady, and congratulations to all the middle school athletes who really performed well enough to be represented and selected again by the entire league for that sportsmanship award. It's quite an honor for us league-wide to get this recognition. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
want to say the families and the students, you know, you're welcome to stay for a conversation about finance and board policy. But if you have something else you would prefer to do, it is completely understandable. All right. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yannicka. And I want to echo what you said. I think the most important thing about sports is learning how to be a good sport. So congratulations to these young people. It's just fantastic. I'm still working on that Lakers thing, but I'm going to be a point guard at one point. Just maybe
There's
by the
still
time I'm
time.
50. Yeah,
There's still time.
I'm still working. At this time, we are going to turn things over to, thank you so much, to public comment. I don't see on agenda items, I don't see that anyone has asked to speak who's in person. Is there anyone who's joining us online who wishes to speak on an agenda item?
I'll go ahead and check and see if we have any hands here.
Thank you, Mr. Bedard. While Mr. Bedard is checking, I just want to remind everyone of our rules for speaking. We are limited to 3 minutes, and we'll ask that you identify yourself at the beginning of your comments and just let us know where you live in the township.
At this point, I do not see any hands online.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bedard. We'll go right into the business of our meeting. We'll start with the approval of minutes from our last meeting. The Board of School Directors approves the board minutes from October 18th. Or questions? Do I have a motion? Motion and a second? All right, Ms. Green.
Mr. Needleman,
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco, Dr. Etlin, Mrs. Green, Mrs. Hubley, Mrs. Lipinski, Dr. Taratusky, Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
All right, we're going to go on to approval of the treasurer's report, and just I can take a point of personal privilege here for a second. After the approval of the treasurer's report, I'm going to ask that the remainder of our business items be approved by a roll call vote. Okay. So with that, we'll do the approval of the treasurer's report. The Board of School Directors approves the October 31, 2022 treasurer's report. Are there any comments or questions? All right, do I have a motion? Motion and a second? All right, Ms. Green.
Mr. Needleman,
Aye.
Mr. DeFranco, Dr. Etlin, Mrs. Green, Mrs. Hubley, Mrs. Lipinski, Dr. Taratusky, Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
All right, moving on to personnel and HR contracts. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment, which are certified personnel, support personnel, extra pay for extra responsibilities, 2022 to 23, and conference workshop attendance. Are there any comments or questions? All right, motion? And a second? All right. Are there any nays on this? Hearing none? Ayes? Can we raise hands? Aye.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to academic affairs. The Board of School Directors, to the extent this is a confidential settlement, we should vote on this separately, I think. The Board of School Directors approves the confidential settlement and release agreement addendum for student number 2022-1115-01. Are there any comments or questions? All right, do I have a motion? And a second? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Sorry, Mr. Bedard. Any opposed? All right, looks like the ayes have it. Moving on to our accelerated budget opt-out resolution. The Board of School Directors approves the accelerated budget opt-out resolution certifying the tax rate, as Dr. Taratuski spoke about before, with the inflation index of 4.1% for the 2023-24 fiscal year. Do I have any comments or questions? All right, motion? And a second? Favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Bedard. We keep doing that to you.
I'm trying to keep up.
See what happens when you leave us? With that, the ayes have it and the motion carries. The 600 level policies, we're going to deal. I completely forgot. Thank you for that. I see that. I skipped right over it. The last one of these that we have to do is the approval of the 2023-24 Eastern Center budget. The Board of School Directors approves the resolution for the adoption of the 2023-24 operating budget for the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology in the amount of $11,474,622 and capital assessment of $1,050,000, of which the Springfield Township School District's portion of the secondary contribution is $759,971, and its share of the capital assessment is $104,650. Did I do that right? Okay. Are there any comments or questions?
I just, if I could jump in,
Please.
I couldn't hear any in the room, but Ms. Green, I just wanted to confirm any of the Eastern funding is already contemplated in the budget. So there's no risk built into our budget from, or variation from what was requested before, correct?
There's a slight increase, which happens each year, but it's a nominal increase, but it just builds upon what was budgeted in previous years.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Are there any comments or other questions from the board? Do I have a motion? And a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Now on to our policies. The 600 level policies recommended for changes are, I'm just going to read the numbers off: 609, 618, 626, and 626.1. And anyone following on the agenda can see what these are. The Board of School Directors approves the second meeting of these policy with changes. Are there any questions or comments? All right. Do I have a motion? Bless you. Do I have a motion? And a second. I'm sorry. I didn't. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. This is the 700 level policies with minimal language changes. Again, I'll just read through the numbers. The Board of School Directors approves the second reading of the following 700 level policies with minimal language changes. 701, dealing with facilities planning. 701.1, naming rights. 702, gifts, grants, and donations. 703, sanitary maintenance. 704, use of school facilities. 704 is maintenance. 707 is use of school facilities, pardon me. 708, lending of equipment and books. 710, use of facilities by staff. And 716, integrated pest management. Any comments or questions? All right. Do I have a motion? Sounds like a second as well. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Next, we're dealing with 700 level policies with substantive changes. The Board of School Directors approves the second reading of this is the second reading indeed, of the following 700 level policies with substantive changes. And again, I'll just read through the numbers. We did these at the last board meeting, of course. 702.1, which is crowdfunding. 705, facilities and workplace safety. 706, property records. 709, building security. Are there any comments or questions? Pardon me, I almost said policies. All right. Do I have a motion? And a second, I heard. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Motion carries, hearing no opposition. 700 level new policies. We talked about these again last time. Last meeting, pardon me. The Board of School Directors approves the second reading of the following 700 level new policies. 717, cellular telephones. 718, service animals in schools. Are there any comments or questions? All right, do I have a motion? And a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And at this time, we'll take comment from the public on non-agenda items. I'm looking at the sign-in sheet for folks who are joining us in person. I don't see any. I don't see anyone signed up, that is. Mr. Bedard, I'll ask if you can check and see if anyone's online who wishes to speak.
At this point, no hands online. Let's give folks another quick minute.
Indeed. And I'll
Is
just,
there
sorry,
Go ahead.
indeed. Thank you, Mr. Bedard. No, I was just going to say, I'll just remind folks who do want to speak, our time limit is 3 minutes for comments only. And if you would start your comment with your name and where you live in the township.
And there are no hands online for public comment.
All right, very good. With that, then we'll talk about future board meeting dates. On December 6th, 2022, which is a regular board meeting, and January 3rd, gosh, can you believe it's the end of the year already? I can. I feel like I just got through the summer. Will be our next interim board meeting, which will be hybrid. All meetings will be held here in the Freeze Memorial Library in the high school. Our future committee meeting dates will be Thursday, December 1st. I was reading the wrong line, at 8 a.m. virtual, and that will be a finance committee meeting. And before I adjourn things for the night, do any of the board members have any comments they'd like to make? Do you want to make a comment or statement or anything?
No.
Very good. All right.
Wait, I do.
Oh,
Yes.
very good.
I'm just going to wish our boys soccer team good luck in tomorrow's state semifinal. Special shout out to board member Hubley's son, team member.
All right.
All right, good luck tomorrow night. I'm glad they moved the game from tonight to tomorrow night. Okay,
So a little.
now support the team,
Yes, indeed.
right? 5 o'clock, Springfield High School. Go Spartans. I'll leave it with that.
Very good. All right. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.